All right, so this is going to be the first of first impressions. I know next to nothing about this application. I just heard about it, saw people tweeting about it. Let's try it out. So I'm going to drag this over into my applications folder. Open that up. Go over here to Windsurf. There it is. And I'm presuming that this is free. I mean, probably like on a trial basis, right? So it says, welcome to Windsurf. Get started. Oh, this is kind of cool. You can import setup flow, import from VS Code, import from Cursor, start fresh. Now, I do want to start fresh, but for my key bindings, I'll use VS Code key bindings. That's fine. And then it asks if I can choose an editor theme type. I do like this Solarized Dark. I think this Tokyo Night is probably the closest to what I'm going to want. And it says, log into Windsurf with Codium. Authentication grants free access to all Windsurf AI's features. So I'm going to have to click sign up for this. I'll bring this over, and it looks like I need to sign up with Codium. Continue. Redirecting. We'll say open Windsurf. And like I said, I think this is free, probably for a short time. Windsurf will now prompt with OSA script for administrator privileges. Yeah. I figured that was going to need that. All right. Let's crack this thing open. Now, this is going to be... We know that this is going to be something similar to Cursor. It looks like it's kind of its own environment. This is going to help us with building code, things like that. And now I'm just going to kind of look at it here. And like I said, I did no prior research to this. I literally just downloaded it, open it. Sometimes I do pre-research so I can say, this is what this is, and this is where you find this. I don't actually know that this time around, and that's fine. Now, getting started with Windsurf, open with Cascade. I'm not sure what that means. Open Command Palette, Control-Shift-P. We know what that means. Open folder or connect to something. I can see over here we have Cascade Write mode. Write with Cascade, kick off a new project, or make changes across your entire code base. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to create a folder, and then we'll open that folder. Okay, so I've just created a folder called Windsurf Test, and it says, do you trust the author of the files in this folder? Trust the authors. Yes, I trust them. How much you want to bet this is forked off of Visual Studio Code? Kind of looks like it, right? So now, you know, how do we get started? Well, we can open the command palette. We know that that's here. And here we have a bunch of stuff. So what should we start out with, and how do we start out? That's the question. I think we'll do open chat with Cascade, and that's over here. We'll say, I would like to create a Python web API application. I can't type today. Fast API. We'll just kick it off and get it started and see what it does. I'll help you create a fast API web application with a basic structure. I'll set up the main application file, requirements, and a README to get you started. First, let's create the requirements test. Here's our requirements text, and this looks familiar. If you've used anything like Cursor, GitHub, Tab 9, Blackbox, all of these do this in file changes like this, where you do accept all changes, reject, etc. So we're going to accept this. We're going to accept our README file. We're going to save it. Suggested terminal command. It says, do you want to install the recommended Python extension? Which, yeah, this is definitely forked off of Visual Studio Code. It looks exactly like Visual Studio Code, but if you look now, if we go to install this Python extension, so, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. That's exactly how Cursor is built. That's fine. That means that some of these things are going to be like super familiar to you, right? Now let's open up a terminal here, and I'm going to do Python -m -venv. We'll create a little virtual environment here real quick. Yes. So say source. Awesome. So now we've got our virtual environment here. We'll copy this pip install -r requirements.txt. Obviously, most of us would know that we need to do that, but it's nice that it gives us the little option here. I'll say accept. Oh, and it's running the terminal command. After I hit accept, it's running the terminal command in here. So it's actually, both of these are going at the same time. Let's see if this breaks it. I don't think it will, but yeah, it just says it's an error. Oh, but it is updating my requirements text right now with more stable versions, it says. Waiting on response. I'm going to hit accept, and I'm going to let this run here, and this is just our pip install stuff. Now, one thing to notice is we are doing this pip install of all this stuff on my main, and I'll go back and I'll remove all this stuff, but it's doing it on my main Python installation instead of over here in a virtual environment where I want to do it, but that's fine. So I am actually going to say, I would like to uninstall all of those things. And I can go over here. I'll copy this Unicorn thing here. We're going to do the pip install requirements.txt. Paste Unicorn app reload. And it looks like it's got a type error in it. Now, one thing I noticed here is I would like to uninstall all of those things. So we're going to uninstall using pip. Accept, because I don't want those all installed on, I only do virtual environments for all of my Python stuff. And I can reject that command because I don't want to do that. Now I'm going to run pip install requirements text again. We're going to do pip install -- upgrade pip. All right. Do this again. Everything looks good. So now let's try our Unicorn load again, and I can see that there is an error here. So this isn't going to load up Unicorn the way I would like to. So, of course, we're not even going to think about it, right? We're going to just ask. Just copy some of this and say, I'm getting the following error. We'll dump our error in there. Let's see what it says. We should be able to, we can go to localhost 8000 here. Let me say, see if anything is running. Connection refused. Okay, and it said this error is occurring because there's an incompatibility between the version of Pydantic and Python 3.8.13. Okay, so let's go to requirements.txt. Here we have an open diff button, which is cool. We can take a look at the diff. We'll remove all that. And main.py, we can see some, no more of this, no more of this. Now we're putting in this. And now it's suggesting we once again, and I'm just going to close that. Do pip install over here. We'll try running Unicorn. Pip install -r requirements text. All right. Now I can say how do I run this application? It's going to give us that unicorn again. Same one. Okay, just wanted to make sure. We'll watch for changes. Address already in use. Keep forgetting that I'm not in Linux. Kill-9. Perfect. We'll run it again. And there we go. Okay, now let's take a look here at our routes and see what we're looking at. We have apt-get. If we just send a get to root, it should send a message, welcome to Fast API application. So let's try that. I'm going to bring Postman over here. Localhost 8000. You can tell I've done this recently. Let's just send it a get. Welcome to Fast API application. Awesome. What other routes do we have here? We have get items, item ID, and we can post items. So let's just go over here and let's do that. Let's change this to a post. And we'll go raw, JSON. I'm not sure exactly what an item should look like. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Item. So we have a name. Test item. Description, which is optional. And here we'll just say, this is my item. There are many like it. But this one is mine. And finally, we have model config. Oh, we have a price. I'm not sure what the model config is yet, but we're going to say price. Now we do notice that price is a float. So this is going to be $2.99. All right. Let's send this over and see what it says. We send it. It says method not allowed. Now, why would our post not be allowed? At post, create items, and it should return an item. It says method not allowed. But it should be allowed. It's in a route. Let's see why that is. You're probably looking at this and you already know the answer, but all right. Now notice this is kind of slow, but I think part of the reason it's kind of slow is there's a lot of people using this. So there's a ton of people talking about this product right now. And we're also in the trial version. As you can see right here, trial version. I got 47 user prompts left. But it's ostensibly working. Because I have a stop button here, or cancel button. So let's just sit here and I'm going to say reject this command and then send it maybe. There we go. So I'm just not getting the user flow down right. Okay. And this gives me the answer. Obviously I knew the answer beforehand, but I wanted to see if it would give me the answer. And it says method not allowed typically when you're using the wrong HTTP method to access an endpoint. And it says post /items, which of course I was not doing. So just kind of testing it out a little bit. There we go. Here's an item. Let's try to get the items. So now we're going to do localhost 8000 again. Items. And did I do that wrong? Oh, item ID. What if I don't know my item ID? Because it did not return an item ID, so I'm just going to say get item 0. See if that'll work. Item ID 0. Item ID 1. Not so much. So, once again, we can ask, how do I know what my item ID is? Now, when we look at the post, it says return item, and that item didn't actually have an item ID. So that's something that we need to add in, because if we look at here, we have all of these, but we don't have an item ID. But I can always say, I don't know how to get the item ID. Retrieve that. How is it created? Which it's not. We'll just reject that and then send it. It's not being created, but let's see if it figures this out. We don't actually have any storage for the items, so they're not being created or stored anywhere. Perfect. There we go. Now we're going to put in a dictionary, and we're actually going to store this. There's our in-memory storage. It's creating a nice little dictionary. We're doing a next item ID, of course. We're adding an ID. Now when we get items, we should be getting a whole list, which is what I tried to do earlier. Perfect. So this looks great. We save, and it looks like it is rebooting. So now we'll just try to get items by itself. Nope. We'll post this item again. Oh, now it says it's not allowed. So what did we change? Post items, create item, next item ID, etc. Our item has a name, description, price, etc., but we have to have response model, item response. Let's do this and say, this is one of the things I like to try with GitHub Copilot and other ones. Just dump the error message in there. To get all items, get request. We did try that. Just sending a regular old get to localhost 8000 items. Let's let it run the command, see what it says. And I'm going to copy this. And we'll send this instead of the one that we built. Name, test item, price, description, a test item. We'll send that. Still says method not allowed. We're sending it as JSON. All right, content type. We could, this should be setting our content type, right? If we go in here. Maybe not. Maybe we'll send a content type header. Application. What was that? Yeah, application JSON. There it is. We'll add that and we'll see if that helps. Nope. Still says method not allowed. Now before I type this, actually, I should accept this and run the command. Okay, now I'm going to run this one again. Method not allowed. What if we put a 1 on there? Then we can see it. So we can't list all items with get yet. We'll have to write that in there, but I can see here, there is my test item. Now, why this isn't allowed, I don't know. So I'm going to take this curl post here and just kind of take a look at it. I can do it right here. And the post goes to localhost 8000 items. Our content type is application JSON. Maybe I typed that wrong. And actually we'll copy this again, just to make sure we've got the JSON correct. And I'm sure it's just some kind of user error on my part. Params content type JSON, body, call this test item 2, raw, JSON. Maybe it's item, not items. It's not found. So if I go over here to get, I can still see item 1. There is no item 2. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll try it without the content type. Still says not found. So I'm going to go back here. Say, still says method not allowed. I guess I got to reject this one first. Still says method not allowed. And I'm actually not sure why this isn't working. Yep, it's running. Curl, localhost 8000. Once again, I'm going to use Postman. We're just going to say get localhost 8000. Welcome to Fast API. That works. Start the server. Accept. We'll kill Evacorn. Start the server again to see if there are any issues. That's a good idea. So I'll copy this, run it in debug mode. Now we check it. Yep, Fast API works. And let's just try this post again. Still says detail not found. Oh, and I should have rejected that one. That's okay. Reject. We're good. So I'm wasting a lot of my prompt credits with this. It says create a new item using post. So I'm going to go in another terminal here. We'll create a couple of these. And then I'll go over here to get. Items. We don't have a wildcard, right? Oh, we do. Okay, so we do have 2 test items here, ID 1 and ID 2. Okay, now I'm going to double check my Postman settings here. We're going to start up Uvicorn again. Or no, that's right, we have Uvicorn running here. So I'm just going to go back and say, let's see, 127.0.1, 1,000 items, content type, application JSON, body. Let's just look at this and make sure it is what we expect it to be. We've got an item, price, description, method not allowed. Let's see what else we need to. Now in here, I can go in and get the curl command for this. We'll run that curl command. And this one says method not allowed. So what is the difference? Is it something as simple as a trailing slash? It is. Okay. That is something that I was not aware of, that I should have known. But here we go. Test item 2. So we'll do test item 2, test item 3, test item 4, test item 5. I mean, we just go on and on, right? Then we go items. Look at all those items we have in memory. So my first impressions of this. I don't see a whole lot of difference between this and cursor. I've used cursor quite a bit. I will say there's one particular difference between this and cursor, and that is these right here, where it has these terminal commands that it runs for you. Now, in my case, I didn't want to use these terminal commands because I have my terminal going over here in the terminal with the Python virtual environment. So I didn't want to use most of these commands, but the fact that it displays those commands and you can run them from the chat window is kind of neat. So that's a difference. Another difference here is we have a ton of models here. We have GPT-4o, we have DeepSeek R1. And if you look, if you use DeepSeek v3, it only uses a quarter credit for each one. DeepSeek R1, 0.5 credits. Gemini 2.0 Flash, 2.5 credits. So that's really cool. And then there's Cascade Base, which I'm assuming is their proprietary large language model, which is cool. We could probably use that thing all day long, it looks like. But this interface, so this is a fork off of Visual Studio Code, just like Cursor. I like that idea. I don't care. I've seen some people out there that are like, oh, this is just some silly forked VS Code with a wrapper pointing to an LLM. Of course it is. That's what it is. However, it's some of that inference quality stuff, you know, the difference in what they're doing on the inference end, the difference in being able to select the models, and the interface tweaks that they do are the advantages that they give, right? Because any of us can go into any of these different models and run our queries, but this is going to take our files in as context in our project. And the one thing that I'm seeing different right now with this one is the fact that it runs terminal commands from the chat window. So you have this chat going open. Now there's probably a ton of other things here that I haven't really considered because I don't really know it, but we have here add cursor above, below. These are all pretty common commands. Add configuration log point. So it does some debugging. So you could do debugging right in here. Looks like a lot of this stuff is a lot of the stuff you can do in Visual Studio Code. So, like I said, my first impressions of it, I think they're kind of cool little user tweaks. I need to work with this some more to figure out how to make these things run in a Python virtual environment. But so far, it seems really intuitive. I dumped in errors. It gave me answers to those errors, which are cool. I'm going to jump into this and use it some more. I might even pay for a month of it or so just to kind of test it out and see what all the hype is about. There was a lot of hype around Cursor too, and I found Cursor to be pretty good. I still really like to use Tab 9 and Blackbox AI and GitHub Copilot with my super configured Visual Studio Code installation. However, these things where they're trying to kind of encapsulate it and they're kind of bringing it all into a product that talks back and forth is also really cool. It's, you know, one of the ways they can kind of put themselves ahead of everybody. So I just wanted to kind of dig in, give some first impressions, share them with you. Let me know in the comments what you think of this. If you've tried out Windsurf and you think it's awesome, you think I missed something big here, which I probably did, feel free to drop that in there. But I'm going to check this out and I'm going to do official full real review here sometime later.